Washington County is significantly, I think it's fair to say, behind on replacing schools. They're supposed to be on a 50-year cycle. I think we are on, at this point, a 188-year cycle. I think 50 is lower than 188, so yeah,
Only
we're
by a little
significant.
bit.
Yeah, we're on a significant. We're significantly behind. The bottom line, though, is that this board and this superintendent and this staff at the school system are looking at this, and they've come up with an idea to implement some prototype schools. And what I understand is that there's several benefits. Ron, can you talk about some of the benefits potential for this prototype school idea?
Well, one of the major benefits and one of the major controversies over the years has been neighborhood schools. People don't want to do away with neighborhood schools. So you have a principal and an entire staff at a neighborhood school, and when you could combine those schools. Now the discussion's Potomac Heights and Fountaindale. They could be put together. You have Greenbrier and Old Forge that could go together. You have Fountaindale and...
Fountain Rock.
Yeah, Fountain Rock. Well, Fountaindale and Potomac
Right.
Heights, but Fountaindale and...
Fountain Rock.
I'll say it again. Fountain Rock and
Hickory. Right.
And you can put those all together.
So we're
and lower the
replacing
cost.
six schools with 3.
Yes.
And they're not necessarily, although I would argue, and if you look at the distance between, and I live in Williamsport, might have a child that's at Williamsport Elementary this year. If you look at the distance between Hickory and Williamsport and Fountain Rock, I would argue it's all in one neighborhood because there's not that much distance between.
But you're not going to tell the people at Hickory and Fountain Rock that.
Well, that may be true. And then, of course, we have Lincolnshire, which is also very
right
close.
across the road from Hickory.
Right. But I can see the benefit, especially on the administration side. Now, the other thing, though, is the whole construction side. Because if we don't build this new school, Tyler, I guess we have to refurb the old schools. What does that mean?
Yeah, well, obviously, constructing new schools in the short term is gonna cost a little bit more, require a little bit more investment. But doing these refurbishings every 10 or so years, when you get a school that's out of date, it needs new equipment, it needs new technology, it needs new facilities, so we can be giving our students the best of what they need. That's expensive. And by combining these schools into 3 new modern schools that would be built, then you take down the long-term costs with maintaining these schools, because you're coming in with all kinds of new stuff that's going to last longer. And this isn't unprecedented. The construction in 2008, WCPS opened 3 new nice elementary schools that are still functioning and running well today. So it may seem like a huge project, but it's not some gargantuan effort that's unprecedented, especially here.
You know why?
Tell me, Ron.
Because you have a state that's not afraid to put money into school construction.
We have a Republican governor that's not afraid to put money into school construction, right?
And I won't decline that, but the good thing is he's not from a red state. He's got money to put into it.
Yeah. Okay. So the what I understood in terms of the cost savings of building these new schools versus renovation is somewhere around $46 million in savings. That's not chump change. You
No.
can do a lot with that. And then I also understand that there is a reduction in operating costs. Ron, do we have a number on that, or Tyler?
Well, Tyler, go ahead, but it's about, in some different areas on 2 schools, it'd be over $1 million in savings of money. I mean, you cut down tremendously just on overhead on staff.
Yeah, that's a big part of it. And then also, one thing that I wanted to bring up is sort of the security risks that are being thought of in building these new schools. And a big part of the renovations is these open schools. Most of these schools that they're going to be closing and combining are open concept schools, where it's not walls with numbered classrooms and just hallways and lockers on the side, you know, the traditional school that you think of. I went to Greenbrier Elementary. It's, again, a very small school, but you're in one classroom, a teacher's yelling at one student, you can hear it from the next 5 over because it's open, there's no locks, you can really go wherever you want. And in an active school shooter situation, that's dangerous, and that could really, if that were to unfortunately, and we pray that it doesn't happen anywhere here as it has in some other places in the country, But if that were to happen, that open concept design in a school could make security a lot more difficult. And by building these new schools, a significant amount of the money that you would be saving would be not having to sort of fix the open concept to keep our students safe in the schools that we currently have.
So, Ron, it's my understanding that all of the board members are preliminarily on board with this proposal. It's an election year. Some of them are up for re-election this year. Is that an election year tactic?
Well, I would point out that all that were present supported it.
Okay.
One wasn't there.
That's a good point.
So, but I think even
But do you
the
think
other
this
person
is,
was.
yes, I really support it, or do you think this is, well, this is an election year and it sounds good, so I'll support it for the
What's
time
a good
being?
time to get the county involved in who's going to help fund education? And I would point out, remember the conversation we had last week on the Kerwin Commission that's dealing with all kinds of things? Well, one of the things that commission deals with, because I served on the Hutchison Commission and the Kramer Commission, you deal with school construction formula. Then it was a 60-40 match where the county put up 40%, the state put up 60%. Well, now sometimes it's 65% state, 35% county. So that's something else that is dealt with, but that commission report won't be finished until after the election.
Yeah, so one possible downside, and I'm not saying it's a downside, but we know that the county struggles to meet their budget obligations, just like every other governmental agency.
Under the existing tax rate.
For whatever the reason, yes. The reality is, though, we're going to ask our county commissioners and our county to put another $2 million worth to increase their funding from $4 million to $6 million in the school construction piece. Now, is that a short-lived request, or because we show all these savings, at some point that we've got to get that back in those savings? Would you agree, or am I wrong?
Yes, you do have to get it back, but there's going to be a major amount of money over the next
Outlay.
30, 40 years that the county's going to have to deal with. So how are you going to get that money? There are those people that want the same income to come in, divert something from one area to another area, and then another area goes bad. So there's some major decisions for this county government and Board of Education to look at over the next years. And that major decision is what? Economic development. Grow the county, do what we need to be done to pay for the programs, the schools, the infrastructure that we need to make it happen.
So the other benefit that I understand is there's apparently 12 portable classrooms in these elementary schools, and apparently one of the other benefits is that we can get rid of those as well.
Portable classrooms are not desirable at all. They're very small, they're cramped, they're a difficult environment for a teacher to teach in, and you're also having students that are going outside of the school building, and that's, back to the security risks. You could have a student decide, I just don't feel like going to school today, and leave, when if you didn't have those portable classrooms, it would be more difficult. And I've, in my time in Washington County Public Schools, been in many portable classrooms. They're not things that you want to have, and being able to get rid of those would be extremely helpful in this proposal.
Well, and the other thing that I think is a benefit, and reading through the reports that I've seen and so forth, is the concept of we're now integrating more of this pre-K concept and some of the other things that we need to have as we think about modern education in this period of time.
That, and between the 3 new schools over the 6 current schools, we'd have an increase in the number of seats, a significant amount, which would allow for possible growth over the next few years without having to bring in more portables as we have now.
And you'll have the last word on that. Coming up next, my favorite segment, Fast Five. Come back and see us. We have a great list of topics.